Mike back with you. Another hour or whatever I've been down here trying to cut up a couple lessons. I think this is rock harmonica lesson number 5. Rock-harmonica.com for the blog stuff. I'm going to have a lot of blogging to do over the next couple weeks because I've done a month's worth of lessons in a very short time here. The previous one will hopefully work. We just talked a little bit about adding holes 10 to your playing and some of the inflection, which I was just demonstrating to start the lesson. I guess the point of this one, and then I'll have to conclude and take a little break to reorganize, is you know, how do you use some of this stuff then over songs, specifically blues songs, and then we'll move into you know, how that goes to some rock playing, and then get over some progressions. I'm gonna have to learn some technology to upload some of those things to illustrate the points with some backing tracks and stuff. So you'll have to bear with me. That may take a week or two for me to figure out, but we'll get her hammered out, and maybe somebody here checking out the videos can help me out. But the beginning when I was playing would work very much over like a slower piece or a slow blues or a slow rock song. So let's sort of talk about rock. Not that I'm going to teach you to play a bunch of Guns N' Roses, but you know, you have your 80s bands that just like really rocked out. You listen to Poison and stuff, and they kind of play these bluesy guitar riffs, and then they throw in these patterns, these quick runs up, which can be really cool. I don't know if I'd want to do that all night, but you know, it'll be really cool. They'll play some bluesy. Okay, and they'll play those kind of runs up, which is way cool. I mean, and it's fun to play, and it's fun to rock out like that. But you know, not everything's gonna be fast and flashy, but can be real articulate and real dynamic. So to extend some of those themes from the other one, we'll talk a little bit about articulation, and then we'll talk about sometimes they're called guide tones, or you know, whale notes, things of that nature. And so if you know, I'm going from the perspective of the slower piece, like when starting the song, I know I can use that scale, you know, the Mixolydian mode from 6 to 9, extend that into 10. I can play any of those notes however I want, and they'll sound cool. I can use some action patterns, I can use embellishments, I can play probably right now what you're doing is straight melodies. See, that something just floated by my head again. It must be the ghost of Paul Butterfield. If Jason Ricci ever watches this, he might appreciate my jokes about the paranormal, but and they really should have never canceled Fact or Fake. That was a sad day. I digress again. Holes 6 through 10 on the harp, and if I'm trying to play those melodically and I'm moving between notes, a lot of times you know, up here I'll pucker play, and then I'll articulate with tatas, with my tongue, and often I don't know how well that'll pick up here, but if I'm playing amped or something or through a PA, like that's even more obvious. Dun 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 dun. Okay, and even when I'm playing blow dry, I tend to articulate a lot. So let's go back through that riff. Okay, and I'm gonna when I'm hitting both those draw and blows. And I do that a lot. I probably do it more than I should. And I don't know, maybe that sounds bad. And I need to learn to do it less. But articulate things. So that's really hard. When I was trying to learn that outro riff on Mountain Winds again the other day, I think I've referenced the song a couple times now, but I was asked to play it with a group. And I didn't want to cop the whole solo, but I kind of want to start it the same way as that solo's you know, started on the album, and then kind of ended the same way. And there's this riff at the end that has some blow bends. And so on the short slot harps, sometimes on the 10 blow, I have a hard time, and I kind of get this like octave down effect that I can kind of hear because maybe my technique isn't where it should be. And I think a lot of that initially, like when I was playing it there, was I was articulating really heavy. Okay, so dun, dun. Okay, and that works fine down there, but then when I go to the 10, and I'm trying to go from the 9 to the 10 draw bend, okay, that wasn't working too well for me. So I tried to learn it then without articulating, and it worked better. No, of course now I can't do it. And you try to articulate that a little differently. So something to experiment with. I think I naturally did that, and then I came across some David Barrett material, and as I was learning to play in pucker play, picked up a lot on the articulating. So I do that a ton on the high end. So examples of where that kind of helps you out is if you're playing, this is kind of a Derek Trucks move who actually plays slide guitar, but is a hammer on the 9 drop, and I use that articulation. Okay, you can use that there as a form of articulation, or like I said, and that's very, like, I always think the intro riff of Runaround is kind of like the bread and butter riff that Sugar Blue uses when he's playing the high end stuff. He starts a lot on that 8 drop. Okay, like that Little Red Rooster riff, which is similar to Runaround. That wasn't very clean there. But you can hear, maybe that picks up, I do a lot of articulating, and I probably do more than most people. So if you're trying to rip off anything from this, or you're finding it helpful, just keep that in mind. Maybe you don't want to articulate so much. Maybe to the point of a bad habit with me. I don't know. So take that for what it's worth. You can do some articulating if you want. This is hard. I'm starting to lose track of what I'm supposed to be talking about. But we're also on the high end of the harp, and we're if we're trying to be more melodic or play some of that slow stuff, like, again, you can definitely articulate. And then I wanted to talk some about the guide tones, and we'll use that to conclude here. I think that's back on track with where I wanted to be. You're just going to have to deal with the rambling and the self-deprecating you were to get through some of these lessons. The whole 6 through 10, though, what I'm looking for are, okay, what notes are really good notes? If I can kind of hit everything, what notes do I want to hit more than the others? And your 6 blow, your 7 draw, your 8 draw, your 9 draw are all going to be notes that you can hit and you can land on for a home base. So if you're ever lost, just come back to one of the draw notes. If you find yourself all the way up on draw 10, that's not a good note to resolve some of your phrases on, create some tension, just slide down a hole. And if you're over blues, it's going to be 9 draws, it's going to sound awesome anyway. So whatever I'm playing, and I don't, on hole 6 down, or even with the 6 overblow and the 7 draw, there's probably what I would consider some riffs that I would hit on, or and really conscious of what I'm playing, or where those note patterns come from. On the high end of the harp, very much less of that. I think the embellishments are real intentional, and I know that I use some of the head shake triplets or quadruplets or sextuplets, whatever they are, for some speed. And I think there's a couple of breath patterns that aren't like linear scale patterns, but are breath patterns that work well in harp that I come to a lot. Some of the single reed bends, some of the dip bends, and the dynamics, like, there's some canned moves there, but they're not necessarily riffs like what I started with at the beginning. I just started on a note, and I knew that, as I was playing, as I wanted to create some resolution to some of those phrases, that I could just land on 6 blow, 7 draw, 8 blow, or 8 draw, or 9 draw. So as you're moving around some things and you're building some speed or creating your own patterns, or in future lessons taking some of the stuff that I'm doing, just think about, eventually you got to land at home, right? So I can throw out all sorts of crazy cool stuff. Okay, but I gotta have somewhere to land. So there I landed on 9 draw. You could also land on 9 blow. I mean, that's the same as 6 blow. I guess I should clarify that. And I can always hit that note, and it'll sound fine. It'll sound in. but you'll sound even radder if you hit one of the draw notes to end on, and you're not always playing the tonic. As a matter of fact, I took that to such heart learning some material with Chris McCulloch that I've just naturally started phrases on the bottom of the harp. Instead of playing 2 draw, I've just always substituted the bend on 2, bending it all the way down as a way to start a phrase. Okay, so instead of going, I always start with the bend and bend up to the 2, so I'm not starting on the 2, which is cliched. Okay, the other thing I do is I articulate a lot on the 2, so I'm still not starting with the 2, I'm starting with repetitive 2s. Okay, so same phrase, just started 2 different ways, trying to get away from starting everything on 2 draw. I do the opposite on the high end of the harp. I play the 6 blow and the 9 blow all the time. I start phrases, end phrases. I'm much more likely to do that. Why? Because it's safe and easy for me. Mostly it's a path of least resistance, and those aren't played nearly as much. It doesn't naturally sound as cliched. Next time you go to a blues jam or something, start a phrase. Or if you're playing you want to throw a rock riff behind what a singer's doing in between phrases. I mean, start on 9 blow. People won't expect that. Okay, play something more basic than that. Okay, so you got somebody singing between phrases. Okay, and all I did was articulate da 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 da. You can maybe hear me articulate that. Okay, and then 1 draw note and back to an articulated 9 blow. People aren't going to expect that over over a blues song. It's going to sound cool. It's going to sound out, but it's not. It's just the tonic and the flat 7th. It's okay. Same thing as that. Okay, every blues harp guy is going to come in. So when you're at Ziggy's with Rick Davis one of these days, throw in a, and then look over to Rick and say, "Mike showed me that," and he'll appreciate that maybe. What else can we do up there? So we've talked about some of the articulating. We've talked about some of the land tones, the guiding tones, or whatever you want to call those, your home bases, whatever. One to start and end phrases with it. Again, people won't expect this one to sound a little more out, a little less blues, and definitely more rock is that 7 draw, which is a very, very pretty note. And as we showed in the previous video, you can do some single reed bends there on the blow and the draw that create a little more bluesy effect or a little more dynamics with that. And that's in the chord. That's going to be in the 1 chord. That 3 draws right there. And it's going to sound very appropriate with your phrases. So don't be afraid to start and land there over a blues song. It may not be the most bluesy sounding thing, but if you're not going for blues, that's good then, right? If you want that to sound bluesy, then you got to kind of find a way to sneak in the overblow. Okay, and play something like that instead. But this isn't going to focus a lot on overblows, but on that 7 draw, go ahead and play that. And it's cool because if you're playing over blues stuff, you can start a phrase with a 7 blow or any of the, Okay, I can come up here and I can start on 7 blow. Okay, and that was pretty much just a made-up line that I knew to start on 7 blow, and it's always easy to resolve to that 9 dip bend. I do that all the time. I definitely abuse that, but it doesn't get as annoying to people as some other stuff real fast because people aren't used to hearing it. And of course, you don't play every solo up on the high end of the harp, and that isn't what I'm suggesting, but that's a quick way to resolve things very cool. Or up on the 10 blow bend. So, your takeaway from this lesson then is you're jamming. We've learned some dynamics, a little bit about some of the action pattern or embellishment kind of stuff, and now we're thinking, okay, if I'm making stuff up, where do I safely land, right? I'm going up with reckless abandon. Okay, I have this cool glissando up, now what do I do? Okay, I'm on 10 draw, I gotta come back down to somewhere. Start blowing in and out till you get to a draw note that you can land on. Okay, and let that phrase go until you hit a note that you want to resolve on. Okay, and I just know, like, I can play whatever I want. Whatever comes out's fine. If I want to sound in at the end, I just got to resolve on a note that's okay to resolve on the high end of the harp. 6 blow, 7 draw, 8 draw, 9 draw, 9 blow. All going to work. We're going to take a little break. So I'm going to post these over the next couple days, and then I'm going to disappear for a little bit and catch up on the blog and come back in a week or two. Thank you.